guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Happy that all y'all are here. So as you can see, today's YouTube video is going to be get ready with me, a mini soft glam, and we're going to be talking about healing. And what better story to talk about than the story of Naaman? Like, his story was so crazy. So we're going to get into it. We're going to ask some tough questions, and we're just going to chat. Since I already did my skincare routine, I'm just going to start with some sunscreen. I use 60 SPF. I think I got this from like Target. So we're going to be in 2 Kings 5, 1 through 18 throughout this entire video. So let's begin. The healing of Naaman. The king of Aram had great admiration for Naaman, the commander of his army, because through him the Lord had given Aram great victories, but through Naaman was a mighty warrior. He suffered from leprosy. At this time, Aramean raiders had invaded the land of Israel, and among their captives was a young girl who had been given to Naaman's wife as a maid. Other translations say a young Israel girl. One day the girl said to her mistress, "I wish my master would go to see the prophet in Samaria. He would heal him of his leprosy." So Naaman told the king that the young girl from Israel had said. "Go and visit the prophet." The king of Aram told him, "I will send a letter of introduction for you to take to the king of Israel." So Naaman started out carrying as gifts 750 pounds of silver, 150 pounds of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. The letter to the king of Israel said, "With this letter I present my servant Naaman. I want you to heal him of his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes in dismay and said, "Am I God that I give life and take it away? Why is this man asking me to heal someone with leprosy? I can see that he's just trying to pick a fight with me." But when Elijah, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes in dismay, he sent this message to him: "Why are you so upset? Send Naaman to me, and he will learn that there is a true prophet here in Israel." So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and waited at the door of Elisha's house. But Elisha sent a messenger out to him with this message: "Go and wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan River. Then your skin will be restored and you will be healed of your leprosy." Okay, so we're just going to stop right there for a second. That was verse 1 through 10, and there's a lot to talk about, and I gotta do this shit. So let's just start off in the beginning of like who Naaman is. So Naaman was a highly regarded commander, and like even over that he had a king, which was his master in scripture, and the king also kind of like wrote him a letter to be able to go to Israel and stuff such as that, as we just read. And then Aram is the place that he commands over and where the king rules over. And I think, and it's so interesting to note that in verses 2 through 3, I'll try to put these up just so we can remember as we're going through this. In verses 2 through 3, a young Israel girl was took captive and was now his servant. And she's the one that like told him about Elisha. So that was just crazy. Like if you know like anything about Israel, like that's the land. If there was a land, it would be Israel, right? Even in captivity, she was able to still be used for the glory of God. Like that just hit me. People would have read that, could have read that and been like, oh, like she's a captive, but then she's helping Naaman get healing, which is crazy. So the letter was sent to the king of Israel, and he was distraught. Like when he got that letter, he was like, y'all are trying to pick a fight, and I'm not here for that fight. Y'all are trying to pick a fight, and y'all know that like I have no capabilities of that. Like that's just not my jurisdiction. That was not my ministry. He tore his clothes, he tore his robe. Like he was literally just not for it, you know? He was just not here for it. When Elijah heard of this, he went to the king and he reminded him like we know that there's a person here in Israel that is a prophet that can do this. Like, no, like, and then Elijah was ready. I mean, Elisha is the one that the Israel girl was talking about. Elijah's the one that they're talking about in this scripture, who was able to heal Naaman through the like power and the glory of God. So after that, Naaman arrived to Elijah's house, and Elisha sent a messenger out instead of like going himself. He let Naaman know what he had to do once Naaman got to Elisha's house, and it was to bathe or like wash in the Jordan River 7 times. Then he would be restored, and then he would be cleansed if he bathed in the river 7 times. And Naaman kind of just wasn't having it. He was really upset. Like he expected his healing to have a different process. I might be getting ahead of myself right now because we only got to verse 9. Let's get back into the word, and then we can finish it out and we can keep chatting. But Naaman became angry and stalked away. I thought he would certainly come out to meet me, he said. So first he was upset that like Elisha didn't even come out to meet him. And then I expected him to wave his hand over the leprosy and call on the name of the Lord and his God and heal me. Aren't the rivers of Damascus, the Abana, and the Pharpar better than any of the rivers of Israel? Why shouldn't I wash in them and be healed? So Naaman turned and went away in rage. And this is exactly what I was talking about, how Naaman was just upset. Like, he was comparing literally the rivers. Like, if you know anything about the Jordan River, some things have happened. Jesus got baptized in the Jordan River. The Israelites have history with that Jordan River. That Jordan River is, you know, it's definitely, it has some weight. Okay, so we're going to continue reading, and I'm about to get into this contour. So it says in verse 13, after Naaman went out in rage, that Naaman's servants went to him and said, "My father, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then, he tells you, wash and be cleansed." So he went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times, as the man of God had told him, and his flesh was restored and became clean, like that of a young boy. Oh, got a little crazy. Very interesting how we forget sometimes that we're the ones that are desperate, and that we're the ones that are in desperate need of healing when it comes time for the process to be shown. Naaman was also comparing his process of healing. Like, okay, maybe I should go here, I should go there. Like, that's one thing we have to stop doing, is comparing our process of healing, because we're gonna lose that mental battle every single time. That allows for the lies of me to creep up and plant seeds of doubt when we just aren't, you know, like standing 10 toes down on what God has told us to do, and like comparing our healing process and our struggle process on whether it be to other people or just anything, you know, like it's not fruitful to compare healing processes. And through this though, another question is to be posed is, who am I if I'm healed this way? Why do I have to do it this way? I expected you to just, you know, be healed. Why do I have to be healed this way? He went in the land of Israel with expectation of how he was going to be healed, rather than the expectation of the promise of healing. And I think that sometimes that is a thing that gets us caught up and messed up, when we have expectation of the process and expectation of the experience, rather than, you know, like expectation of the promise. He thought of a grandiose way of like, okay, this is the way I want to be healed. This is the way that I think I should be healed. And if he's not healed that way, who does that then make him? Like, he's like, I'm a commander. My king sent me a letter over here. Like, I didn't have to come begging and scratching and stuff like that. Like, I mean, he didn't know this at the time, probably not, but like, his king had the other king of Israel distressed. Like, so he came over with a lot of weight. And going and bathing and washing in the Jordan River 7 times is a very humbling experience to healing, for sure, for him. Okay, the contours blended in. It's a little blended in. So we're gonna keep on going. It's also important to note that in verse 13, sometimes we need people to bring us back, y'all. Sometimes we need our friends, We need our family. We need people, shoot, that are there to help us just in this life to truly bring us back. I'm using NARS foundation. Love it, love it, love it. It's my favorite foundation. His servants basically had to let him know, like, dude, if he would have told you to do anything else, or if he would have told you to do what you wanted to do, you literally just would have done it. So how different truly is this than if he would have told you to do something else? And through that, like, Naaman had to get perspective. Like, sometimes we really need people around us to ground us and remind us, like, hey, no, you're the one that needs healing in this situation. Like, you're the one. Servants did that for him and really just like grounded him and let him know, like, hey, like, go do it. Like, you're basically tripping. Sorry, that was a fly. But basically let him know, like, you're tripping. Go get that healing. Go get the healing. Go get the healing. Don't be tripping out here, y'all. Humble yourself, get the healing. Okay? Okay, so we're gonna pick up on verse 14, and I'm gonna start my eyebrows soon. So he went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times, as the man of God had told him. And his flesh was restored and became clean, like that of a young boy. When I read that, I was like, oh wait, hold up. Then Naaman and all his attendants went back to the man of God. He stood before him and said, now I know that there is no God in all the world except in Israel. So please accept a gift from your servant. The prophet answered, as surely as the Lord lives, whom I serve, I will not accept a thing. And even though Naaman urged him, he refused. If you will not, said Naaman, please let me, your servant, be given as much earth as a pair of mules can carry. For your servant will never again make burnt offerings and sacrifices to any other god but the Lord. But may the Lord forgive your servant for this one thing. When my master enters the temple of Rimmon to bow down, and he is leaning on my arm, and I have to bow there also. When I bow down in the temple of Rimmon, may the Lord forgive your servant for this. Go in peace, Elijah said. And then we're going to end there. Okay. So we're really going to get into it. We're really going to get into it now. So after Naaman is dunked in the Jordan River 7 times, well, he washes himself 7 times in the river. We come alive in the river. Okay, listen, don't play with the Jordan River. But after he's dunked in the river 7 times, his posture changes. I think that that's a very important thing to note, is how his posture changes and what happens after you humble yourself before the King of Kings. And the question to be posed is, what was Naaman's response to healing? Because healing doesn't stop once you're healed. Like, there's still things you have to do after healing that I think sometimes we forget or just are unaware of. What he did was acknowledge that God is the King of all kings. He said, I now know that there is no true God other than the one in Israel. Like, he healed me. Even just in those few verses, we see how different Naaman has become. Like, I think that that's also a question to ask yourself is, am I truly healed? And ask yourself the evidence of that. Because when you're healed, you'll be changed. Your mind will be changed and your heart will be changed. And once you're healed, you gotta move different. When you're healed, you gotta move different. And that's also something that we've seen within the scripture. When Naaman was asking Elisha, like, ask the Lord to forgive me of this. When his king bows down and he has to bow down with him to an idol god, he's asking for forgiveness of that. He understands that, okay, now that I've received this healing, I must now move different. Hold up, I gotta move different. And I think that that is so, like, crazy and so beautiful, because you have to be intentional. Like, you have to be intentional after you're healed. It's not like, okay, I'm healed, we good, take the shackles off my feet. It's giving that, but like, you have to guard your heart. You have to guard your space, and you also have to make sure the spaces that you inhibit that are inevitable, like for things that are not good for your spirit to enter in, that you're covered. And that's what Naaman was asking, making sure that he had the assurance and the peace that like he would be okay, because he then knew it was kind of wrong, like and that's just such a beautiful thing. We see Naaman kind of enter into a relationship with God as well, because you never want to hurt the people that you love. And when that is a conscious thing, which it is now for Naaman, like I said before, like you have to be intentional with that, and you want to be intentional with that, and you want to ask questions. And the transition of Naaman was such a beautiful thing to see in these few scriptures. After Naaman asked Elisha, like, hey, like, can this be covered and stuff like that, like Elisha gave him that assurance of like, now go in peace. So it's like, I got healed, I also got grace, and I got mercy, because he was going back to a culture that was completely different than the one that he just now experienced in Israel. And he had another level of awareness that just wasn't good anymore, and that wasn't good for him. He can no longer do that. He was taken higher. And I think that that's also a thing that comes with healing, is another level of awareness and another level of, okay, wait, I'm now higher. I now have the awareness not only of, okay, I'm healed and I'm grateful for that, but I also have another level of awareness of who he is in fullness and in truth. And the last thing I just want to leave you guys with is, do not let your pride get in the way of you receiving healing. It does not matter what the process is. People will be rejoicing with you, and if people aren't rejoicing with you, the kingdom in heaven will be rejoicing with you. Do not let pride, do not let embarrassment, do not let fear of identity, of who you are, of what you'll be changed. Like Naaman was scared. Naaman was scared that his identity would change. And you know what? It did. It did. He was changed for the better. And if our plan was better, our plan would be playing out right now. If our plan that we have for our life, that we have for our healing process, that we have for anything, career, anything, if it was better than God's plan, he's fair, he's just, he's all of those things. He's gracious, he's merciful. He's a God that will be like, you're right, here you go, you can have that plan. But time and time again, we see that our plan is not better. God is wiser. He's our creator. So I think we just have to humble ourselves more as creation. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for getting ready with me with this quick little soft glam moment. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I didn't want to do anything super crazy. I have a meeting soon, but yes, thank you guys for coming back. Subscribe, like, comment down below about just Naaman and the story. And I'm just excited to hear all your guys' thoughts and your perspectives of the story of Naaman. What was something that God was speaking to you through this story? And yeah, I'm excited to hear it. So I hope you guys have a blessed day, blessed night, blessed week, blessed month, blessed year. And yeah, bye. Love you guys.